Welcome to our Sundays live. I'm not sure you guys are seeing me or hearing me. I just want to make sure you guys are able to see me just before I start. If you could just give me a sign that you can see me. Cool. I see. I see Cassie saying yes. So, good morning to everyone again. My name is Samantha Alves. Um, I am a volunteer in the Spiritus Center of Ireland, and I work in the center for about 5 years. Um, and a lot of people see me saying 5 years. It seems like this 5 year will never end. But yeah, it's about 5 years, and I am Brazilian, but I'm currently living in Dublin, in Ireland. So I'm broadcast from here. And today we are going to talk about inner transformation. But even before we start, I just wanted to kind of do a little note here, just to say that for Brazilians, we understand inner transformation as a transformation that we need to do inside us. But for a lot of people from other countries or the cultures, they would understand moral transformation instead of inner transformation. So it has to do with the way we understand language. I am going to um, go with inner transformation for now, but I just wanted to make this little note here, just so it is clear that every time I say inner transformation, you can also understand moral transformation from the spiritist point of view. And even when we think about Kardec, because Kardec is French, and in a French context, moral transformation would make much more sense. So I'll go ahead with inner transformation, just because the majority of us are Brazilians, but I just want to make that clear before I go ahead. Then again, same as last time, I gave this talk in the Spiritist Center before, but I think that with the COVID-19 and all that is happening, a lot of people are talking about inner transformation at the moment, or something that needs to change with this whole thing happening. It seems like it's an opportunity for us to rethink. And even I was hearing the news the other days, and the podcast that I listen for news, they had this series that is called Rethink. So the idea is for people to say what they think should change after COVID-19. So it makes me believe that everyone is thinking of things that need to be changed, and the kind of assimilates the reason why COVID-19 is happening is because the way we were doing things in the past was not the best way to do it, and perhaps we should rethink and maybe change. So that is the idea, and that's why I'm talking about it today. So it seems to me very pertinent for the moment we are living, and I decided to explore it a little bit more. But first things first, let's do our initial prayer before we start. So if you could close your eyes, if you wish, of course. Take a deep breath. Let's raise our thoughts to Jesus. Dear Jesus, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here this morning. We know you are with us at this moment. Help us understand what you want us to learn. Help us understand how we can be better, how we can transform ourselves. Help us understand the work we need to do and guide our mouth and our ears this morning so we can say the words that you want us to say and we can hear what you want us to hear. So be it. Okay, so let me just check if you guys are okay, if you can hear me. It seems like everything is okay. Cool. I am going to use a presentation today. And again, I just want to check, can you guys see my screen? I hope you guys can see my screen. So, what is inner transformation? From the dictionary, it's a marked change in form, nature, or appearance. Some synonyms are change, alteration, modification, conversion, evolution, etc. I love this last one because it has all to do with the Spiritism view of inner transformation, evolution. So we are going to explore it a little bit more. And from the book Foundations of Inner Transformation by Carval Shotero and Abel Glasser, sorry if I'm not saying their names right, but in there we find a definition of inner transformation from the Spiritist point of view. And inner transformation is the renewal of inner hopes, aiming at the strengthening of faith, the solidification of love, the incessant search for forgiveness, the cultivation of positive feelings, and the finalization in the perfection of being. It is the effort that human beings make to improve themselves morally. So again, just making it clear that it's a moral transformation. Thinking about transformation in its basic concept, we could say that it's only possible to transform what exists and is usually what is defective or improper that can be improved. For an ideal transformation, and it's indispensable, resources, evident necessity, rational planning, and competent execution. So it's basically a business plan of your moral transformation. You need all of those things. And in the case of incarnated spirits like ourselves, convinced to be eternal, certain that the ultimate goal is perfection, we are committed to promoting constant and permanent changes in the way we think, act, and be. It is important to reflect on ourselves in order to find out what are the priority transformation we need to consider, what resources and capabilities we have, and whether there is sufficient will, purpose, and determination for such transformation. And who will need to change inwardly? Immediately, anyone who feels unhappy, is judged to be little esteemed or rejected, do not work well, move away from others, get irritated or depressed frequently, think of excessive pleasures, only work for money or social projection, think first of themselves, need to speak or discuss for hours in a row, do not support being criticized or challenged, is considered superior or inferior to others, always want to rule, theme to be dominated, do not tolerate being alone. So these are the people also who suffer from phobias or inhibitions, use the neighbor as an object to satisfy desires or achieve advantages. People of this type are considered by psychologists or spiritual mentors the ones that should seek for help. Is it your case? Because it's certainly mine. I can see myself in a lot of those things. And Emmanuel, for example, in Divine Justice, affirms it's necessary to recognize that all of us, spirits incarnate and discarnate in service on earth, given the volume of debts we have contracted in past existences, we all are sick in laborious restoration. We are all sick, asking to be discharged, as if we were in a hospital asking to be discharged. Man's supreme purpose on earth is his own renewal, to learn to reflect and to improve ourselves for the work that dignifies. This is our purpose, the divine sense of our presence in the world. So, Christ descended from the spheres of light, of superior spirituality, to the earth. It was intended, he did it with the intention to guide humanity towards perfection. Shine your light. This is the energetic and soft word of command of Jesus to those who have inherited the evangelical patrimony brought to the world at the price of his own sacrifice. The infinite tenderness of his angelic soul suggests to us lovingly that the beneficent effort, or suggests to us this beneficent effort, shine your light. Lord's interest is that his disciples from yesterday, from today, and from any time be ennobled by a moralized, enlightened, fraternal existence. His gospel is here as a gift from heaven, so that human beings may overflow with his blessings, be flooded with his light, be invigorated with his energy, be enriched with his eternal teachings. And Spiritism in particular, as a revival of Christianity, is here too, offering us the oceanic treasures from the codification. So you might ask, what do we need most to grow up, to be cultured, to be full, integral, positive? To answer this question, I'll start with another one. What is lacking in modern man, who is the beneficiary of so many blessings, so that his light shines forth? The renewal of man from the moral, intellectual, and spiritual point of view is difficult, no doubt, but it's downright achievable. It is indispensable to transform ourselves with the use of these resources, these means, these elements, which the gospel and spiritism provides abundantly, without the demand of any price except the price of a very simple thing: goodwill, the provision of self-improvement. This word, I think, is the main thing: goodwill. Therefore, in order to renew ourselves, we need to establish a threefold program, if we could say like that, as a starting point for our inner transformation, so that we shine our light. This threefold is based on study, meditation, and work. Now, the study is obtained by reading the gospel, the books of the Spiritist doctrine, and any educational, religious, or philosophical works that lead you to project the mind towards the higher ideals. And in terms of study, it's important to say that the more you study, the more you know, of course, and knowing is important, and you clear your mind, you have a perspective, you have a guideline. So studying is really important. But the reason why we say it's a threefold program is because study is not the only thing. And it's not even half of what we need to do. Study is really important, but I just want to show you guys one interesting thing. So this picture here that you can see has two tables, right? So one table seems bigger than the other, and there is one table bigger than the other. And when we look at this picture, we say, I don't know about you guys, you can have your own ideas about it. But when I see this picture, I see that this one is bigger than this one, right? It seems to me like it's kind of, I don't know, maybe longer than this one here, right? I'm not sure if you guys can see my pointer, but if I can make it clear, the one on the right seems to me smaller than the one on the left. I hope you guys are seeing my screen the way I am seeing it now. So if you get a ruler and measure it, you see that in fact, the one to the right is bigger than the one to the left. And it's one of those tricky things that that we see. It's something that tricks your mind. But what I want to point out here is that even if I tell you that the table on the right is bigger than the one on the left, you still see the one on the left as bigger. So your rational brain can understand what I'm saying, because it's even proven. If you get the ruler and measure it, you see for yourself that in fact the one to the right is bigger. But every time you see this picture, you still see the one to the left as bigger than the one to the right, even knowing that it's the contrary. So I just wanted to point this out, just to show how important it is. Well, it is important because now you know which one is bigger, but if you don't continue your practice in terms of getting better or to improve with the other main two things that I'm going to talk about, you still see things the way you want to see, or the way you kind of your brain is just already I don't know, kind of set to see it. So the second thing I would say is meditation. Meditation is the act by which we become within ourselves, where we will find God in the splendor of His glory, in the fullness of His power, in the limitless expansion of His love. The kingdom of God is within you. Remember? So through prayer in meditation, we will obtain the faith we need to overcome our weaknesses, and the hope that we will stimulate the good, the comfort, the well-being that we will assure ourselves in difficult moments, the inner balance. In meditation and prayer, we will attain our own toning, our own moral strengthening, and inspiration for good. And then the third thing is work. In theory, it is the process of evolution, and the most important of, well, they are all very important. But if you don't do the work, study and meditating will just do, it can only do so much. So you need to go through the work. And it's configured under the I would say 3 main aspects: moral, spiritual, and material. So through material labor, properly speaking, we dignify ourselves in the fulfillment of our duties for ourselves, for the family entrusted to us by God, for the society in which we participate, all of those. By spiritual work, we exercise brotherhood and perfect ourselves in the transcendent knowledge of the immortal soul. And in the field of moral activity, we will strive simultaneously to acquire high qualities and, if necessary, to improve those which we already feel is right. So, in short, it is with our perseverance that makes us win. It is our thoughts that draw us closer to God, to a greater or less degree, with more or less duration. The greater our inner peace, the greater the possibility of being harmonized with the divine superiority. On the other hand, the greater our psychological disturbances, the more negative influences we have on the lower layer of life. So, how to build then this new identity? I think it's a question everyone asks. People always ask, is it possible to change? This is a very common question of all of us. Do you think it's possible to change? Is it easy to change? I think it's hard. It's hard, isn't it? It's possible to change, but it's not easy to change. Now let's see what the Spirit's books say. So if we go to the Spirit's book, question 909, Kardec asks, could humans always overcome their bad tendencies through their own efforts? Now, it's a very objective question, isn't it? So there's this socio-genetic, familial, cultural context, all these pressures on us. But could we, through our own efforts, always fight the bad inclinations? What do you think the spirits answered? So the spirits answered, yes, and sometimes with very little effort. What they lack is willpower. How few of you make such an effort, however? Well, I don't know if you guys know Rosandro Klinge. I love hearing his speeches. And in his speeches, he used to say that he was really annoyed with this question. He jokes that the spirit that answered that question never incarnated. He never had an experience on earth whatsoever. Because if he did, he would know it's not that easy. So, as the spirits say, the problem is that little of us make such effort. And Rosandro also says that he thinks Kardec is also very annoyed with that answer because Kardec was a man of science. He had a tendency to practically, you know, like an engineer. So he was very practical in his way of thinking. So according to Rosandro, in Kardec's mind, he goes, if it is so simple, then give the practical and effective way to get there. And he asks in the Spirit's book, question 919. So Kardec asks, what is the most effective means for improving ourselves in this life and for resisting the draw of evil? And the Spirit's answer, a sage of antiquity has told you, know yourself. We comprehend all the wisdom of that maxim, but the difficulty is precisely in knowing ourselves. By what means can we do so? Do what I used to do when I was living on the earth. At the end of each day, I examined my conscience, reviewed what I had done, and asked myself whether or not I had failed to fulfill some duty and whether or not anyone might have had reason to complain about me. It was thus that I arrived at knowing myself and at seeing what there was in me that needed to be reformed. Those who every night would recall all their actions during the day and would ask themselves what good or wrong they have done, praying to God and their guardian angel to enlighten them, would acquire great strength for self improvement. Because believe me, God will assist them. Therefore, ask yourselves about what you have done and toward what aim you acted in a particular circumstance, whether you have done anything that you would blame in others, and whether you have done anything that you would not dare profess. Also ask if it's pleased God to call me at this moment to enter the world of spirits where nothing is hidden. Would I call her before anyone's gaze? Examine what you may have done against God, then against your neighbor, and lastly against yourselves. The answers will be either repose for your conscience or an indication of a wrong that you must amend. So, the spirit that answered this question was Saint Augustine, and this is one of probably the most famous passage from Saint Augustine. We spend 365 days making mistakes, and at the end of the year, on the 31st, we do a checklist of resolutions for the next year. How likely is it to work out? First, we make huge promises. I'll quit drinking, I'll quit smoking, I'll quit betraying, I'll quit speaking badly of others. But St. Augustine says, every day, not every year, in your bed, before going to sleep, make your checklist. But not huge promises. Instead, small compromises. For example, I think I was a bit rude to this person. I think was not so helpful with this other one. I could have given more in such situation. This is the insignificant effort that St. Augustine is talking about. If you could daily make an analysis of your attitudes, it does not require great effort. What we realize is that these spirits are not asking us to apply for a saint. That is a lot of that is why a lot of people transforms in a transformational moral transformation to in a torture. People compare themselves to Buddha, to Mahatma Gandhi, to Chico Xavier, and this will develop a sense of helplessness and deep inability. The formation of identity is given by a fundamental element. Every time I compare myself with someone, I will always invariably suffer, because we most frequently compare ourselves to people that we assume are better than us. Prettier, smarter, richer. This is a strategy of very deep work paralysis, because when you compare yourself to others, you become impoverished. The comparison ends up generating in the personality a paralysis of fear, because we tend to think that it's impossible to get to that level. And then we do nothing to improve. It's just not worth it. If there was one thing that is important in generating the new identity, it's courage. A toddler falls down around 8,800 times before learning how to walk. Now, can you imagine if they think they are stupid and they feel bad about it? They would never walk. But they don't focus even for a second on the error. They instead focus on what they need to accomplish. And that's why they develop the ability to walk. So, moving on, the persistence in the discovery of our own weaknesses will greatly extend the scope for possibilities of success. Only those who know the evils they possess can heal them. Ignorance is a serious barrier to inner transformation. And in terms of weaknesses, the greatest obstacles to inner transformation are selfishness and pride. Thinking first on ourselves and considering ourselves superior to our neighbor. does not have a promising scenario in our heart in order to rationally accept the process of inner transformation, which first places us on our proper place, a place of equality and fraternity with our peers, and then urge us to change ourselves. In the present stage that we are in terms of humanity, it is important. It is almost impossible to say that some incarnate is completely free from deviations of behavior. Some have more, other less. The major goal is to avoid them, to extirpate them, consolidating the Christian character. Not being able to do it fully, the goal is to control them, to dominate them in order to soften them. Inconceivable is to allow them to increase, grow, become greater, as it damages us and causes us to deal with the unintended consequences they entail. Deviations from conduct, when repeated insistently, become vices. So, for example, smoking or even not paying bills, in the same way, it becomes an addiction, same as the behavior of committing crimes. Therefore, from mild forms of departing from ideal behavior, deviation from conduct often goes to the most serious vices. In that sense, inner transformation is the instrument to combat not only misbehavior but fundamentally addiction. By changing behavior, enhancing attitudes, and cultivating virtues, we'll be able to keep ourselves away from the ills that bring unhappiness, anguish, remorse, and sadness. We will become essentially happier. In the context of inner transformation, limited and small gestures are worth a lot, provided they are positive. A minimum progress is still an evolution. So the way to start is from the bottom, or from where you are, without false pretensions or illusions, not to feed the presumption of becoming the image and likeness of the Christ for one moment to the other. It is a recommending posture, although this is the goal to be achieved one day. So choice is very important, and it's your choice to restart today and to make the best choices, really. So what formula can we follow to succeed in the transformation of the heart? Again, in the book Foundations of the Inner Transformation, we find the following advice. Simply but effectively structure yourself as follows. Acquire real awareness of who you are and who you want to be. Develop solidarity and fraternity towards others. Practice kindness in a broad sense. Fight against egoism on all fronts. Keep impermanent trying. Regard pride as pride, seeking humility. Accept criticism, even impertinent, malevolent, and feral. Firmly believe in the investment of the present for the success of the future. Believe yourself capable of overcoming obstacles, whatever they might be. So these are the commandments of inner transformation, if we can say like that. Above all of them, if you kind of hover over each one of them, we see the following. We see love of God, we see faith in God, resignation to the life God gave you. If we see ourselves sincerely identifying our weaknesses, our flaws in character and personality, as well as being able to know our real Christian qualities, we will have a greater condition to go effectively through our process of inner transformation. So, Spiritism is here to help. It is the true application of the principles of morality taught by Jesus, and it's only with the purpose of making it understood by all, so that through it we all progress more quickly, that God allows this universal manifestation of the Spirit to come and explain what seemed obscure to us. So again, in the Gospel according to Spiritism, we see some are like the musician who is moved by certain chords, when others hear only the sounds. True spirits are recognized by their moral transformation and the efforts they make to overcome their evil inclinations, while the former are content with their limited horizon. The latter understand that there is something better. They make the effort to free themselves, and they always reach their goal if they maintain a firm will. So that's it. That is it in the spirit, the gospel according to spiritism, just to show us how important it is for us to make our choice. And then we are moving towards the end. And I just wanted to end with this picture, because for me, the greatest model of conduct to follow is Jesus. We should not claim doubt in the process of inner change, for the Christ has left us a universe of teachings that magnify and simplify at the same time the search for inner transformation. And that prompts me to read a story that relates to this picture that you're seeing, so we can end on a beautiful note, right? So this goes the story. The room was filled with guests, all curious to see the work of art, still hidden under the white cloth. It was said that the picture was beautiful. The local authorities were present, among photographers, journalists, and other guests, because the painter was in fact very famous. At the appointed hour, the cloth covering the painting was withdrawn, and there was warm applause. The picture was really impressive. It was a picture of Jesus knocking softly on the door of a house. The Christ seemed alive, with his ear by the door. He wanted to hear someone answering. There were speeches and compliments. Everyone admired that perfect work of art. However, a curious observer found a serious flaw in the picture. The door had no lock. He turned to the artist and said with interest, "The door you painted has no lock. How can the visitor open it?" "That's the way it is," replied the painter calmly. "The door represents the human heart, which opens only from the inside." So that is basically it for me today. I'm now open for questions if you guys have any. And I'll have to take my screen from here so I can see your questions. Well, I don't see any question at the moment. I see a lot of people saying hi, good morning from Montevideo. It's so nice to have people from a lot of places, Brazil, US. That's really good. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. Well, if you guys have any questions, please write them. I would just say that in terms of bibliography, I was showing the screen there. Well, quickly, just show you guys the main books that I used are the Spiritist book and the Gospel According to Spiritism. There were other books as well, and especially Fundamentos da Reforma Íntima, that is Foundations of Inner Transformation in English. And I also use some websites as well. And I just want to say that in terms of our activities, we have our public meetings in the form of lives for now, every Sunday from 11:15 to around midday. We have our study groups in the form of lives as well for now, every Tuesday and Thursday at 7:15 p.m. And you guys, well, we're probably seeing it through Facebook, but there's also our email here if you guys need anything or you want to email us. And I also wanted to point out that if you need to talk to somebody, or if you are experiencing anything, any problem, you can, there's this website, yourmentalhealth.ie, that you can visit. There's the Irish Council of Psychotherapy, which is psychotherapycouncil.ie. The Samaritans as well, the number is 116123. And the government here in Ireland recently just released a new tool that if you don't want to talk, or if you can't talk because you're at home and you don't want other people to listen, there's a lot of people at home at the moment, you can just text. So you can text 50808, 50808. So your text, it's 24 hours every day. You can text at any time, and they will do their best to talk to you. They're prepared. It's from the health ministry, so it's probably a very good service. And I see there's a question here about meditation. Which way do you think is better to do? Separate a time before bedtime? Susan, I think it's very personal. I myself prefer to do it before going to bed. I do 10 minutes of meditation. I don't do more than that because I find it difficult, and it's a way of training and improving my time. For me, I do guided meditation as well. I find it easier, but I think it's very personal, and I think it is important to have a time in your agenda to do it, because otherwise you won't make the time. Life happens, a lot of things happen during the day, and you're probably going to leave it for when you have, the proper time. But unless you make the proper time, you probably won't have that proper time. So I would schedule a time in my diary, and I actually have one for myself. Some people like to do it in the morning. They feel they are refreshed. Their mind are clear, if we can say like that, and it's easier for them. Sometimes I do in the morning as well. I find that it helps me during the day, but still I prefer to do it before going to bed, because it helps me to get in the mood to prepare for sleep, really. Like I don't read the news at night, and it's a personal choice, just because I feel that I'm going to bring those things to my sleep if you have it very vivid, right before bed. But it's very personal. I think you should try, maybe put some time in the morning, see how it goes, put some time in the afternoon or at night, and see how it goes and how it works for you. Some people don't do more than 10 minutes, 20 minutes, or even more. I think I am still at the beginning. That's why I stick with the 10 minutes. But it's really very personal, I would say. Claude is asking, can we observe ourselves through our feeling to others? I mean, what I feel when I see my enemy, why people annoy me. That's a very interesting one. And I already gave a talk about it, actually, because we can answer that in one whole talk. I would say, I think there's a lot of reasons why you could be annoyed by someone, if you can say like that. We believe that those reasons could be from past lives, but a lot of them could be in this life as well. Just things that happen and you somehow grew apart from that person. Or sometimes that person did not even do anything to you, just don't feel that connection, or something like this. So we understand that from past lives, and there could be a situation there. Regardless of how you feel in relation to other people, it is really important to pray and to be good to that person anyway. Because if you continue, if you feel that this person like is annoyed by you as well, and you're annoyed by them, you're just cultivating this circle. This will never stop. And if you do the right thing, if you pray, if you behave well in relation to that person, if you wish them all the best, always, you're breaking the cycle. You're not acquiring the responsibility for yourself. You're freeing yourself from this negative cycle. And if you're only responsible for your own actions, right? So you're not responsible for the other people's action, and you need to do your own part, let's say like that, of this story, and pray for that person so that that person can see with other eyes as well, or the relationship with other eyes, and improve that situation. Because the more you do it, the more you bring to other future lives, and even so, just do your part, I would say. Yeah. I hope I have answered your question. So let me know if there's anything that was unclear, or if I can explain in a better way. Just checking if there's anything else. From your point of view, what is the first step towards these changes? Stephen, I think the first step towards these changes is, again, knowing yourself is very important. That is the first thing, because when you know yourself, first of all, you know what you need to improve, and you know what you're good at, so you can exploit those things. Exploit what you are good at, and try to change what you're not good at. I myself find that prayer helps me a lot. It helps me a lot. You have no idea how it helps me, because we are not perfect. We make a lot of mistakes, and if we are here, it's because we are not perfect. Otherwise, we won't be here. According to what we believe, right? According to Spiritism. And just starting from the point that I am going to make mistakes, what I need to do to reduce that is to connect with God, so I can be enlightened, so I know, if I am prompted to do something, I believe that I will be inspired by good actions. I will, if I continue praying, or if I pray frequently, I will always be tuned with the higher good. So prayer for me is really, really important. And it keeps me connected. So it starts by knowing yourself, and then it starts to pray, and everything else will come. You also need to do exercise. As I said, knowing is not all of it. So you need to do the work. If you do something and you make a mistake, you're not happy with what you did, learn from it and try again. And that's all we can do. And hopefully next time we do much better. But knowing that you made a mistake is already very good. Because when the same situation happens again, you see, well, I've already gone through this, so I know now how to act. That's what I would say. So Claudia said here, someone, thank you, but I think that observing my emotions and what I feel, which are my reactions in front of people, is good way to know myself. Yeah, that is true, Claudia. That is very true. So if you observe your emotions and you see your reactions with other people, you are learning. You're learning how you behave. You're learning your tendencies. You're learning the way you are. What are your weaknesses and what really affects you? So it is good. It is really good. It is a very good way to know yourself. I don't see any more question. Yeah, I don't see any more question for now. Thank you so much, guys. I can see here. Thank you. So I thank you guys for the opportunity. We have a lot of work in terms of inner transformation. And again, as I said, this period that we are living call for action. So it is my belief that what's happening right now is not happening, like it's happening for a reason. And a lot of people can see that we need to change the way we do things. So it's a very good time to think about how we can transform ourselves, because I don't think and it's my personal belief that it's not our responsibility to change the world. And for a lot of things we don't have control of, God is at the helm. God has all the control. So what we can do, and our responsibility is really to transform ourselves, to change ourselves. And from changing ourselves, we will then change the world. We'll change our house, then we change our neighborhood and our city, and go and so on. I see another comment here. I feel very difficult for me to change myself, even when I know what I'm attached with. Yes, Suzanne, exactly. And that's why I show that picture, because even knowing is not really all of it. So you know what you need to do, but it's not easy. It is not easy. So you need to do the work bits by bits. I believe that you need to take one day at a time. Like nobody becomes a doctor from one day to the other. They need to study, they need to practice, they need to do it one day after the other. And then by time, or with time, they will then become a doctor. We need to go through the process. There is no other way. I don't see any other way. And from everything that I researched, I think that it is a process, and we need to take the steps one by one, and also be happy with that. Because if you make a mistake, or if there's something you can change and it's really difficult, take your time. Take your time. You won't change from one day to the other. You need to know that this is something that you need to change, and you need to have the will again to change. Having the will is really, really important. And prayer will help, as I said. Going to bed thinking, what have I done wrong? Or even, well, I don't do it. Honestly, I don't go to bed and think what happened through my whole day. I don't do it. But usually when I do something wrong, I immediately know that I did it, So right after whatever, I have done wrong happen, I start to think, why did I do it? I shouldn't have done that. How can I improve it? It's kind of immediately in my head. And I do it a lot of times. Unfortunately, yet I do it a lot of times. So we need to be patient with ourselves, and do the work one day after the other, one day at a time, and take it easy. So I think we are very close to our time here. Anyway, so I'll thank you guys once more. Thank you for the opportunity to be here talking about those things. I'm sorry, I'm not an expert on anything. I just try to share the things that I learned from these studies, and I hope it was helpful. And again, thank you so much. I will end up with our final prayers. So if you guys could close your eyes, take a deep breath. Dear God, dear Jesus, dear spiritual friends, once again, thank you so much for the opportunity of learning from your teachings. Thank you so much for who we are, for the opportunity to be here on earth, for the opportunity to improve, for everything, all the resources that we have, for everything that we have already improved, our strengths. With those things, we'll move forward towards our goal, which is perfection. Thanks for being with us along the way, guiding us, inspiring us, helping all the time we need. Thank you for all the things that we go through. Those are opportunities for improvement. Thank you so much, dear God, dear spiritual friends, our mentor. So be it. Okay, so have a good day, everyone, and I'll see you next time.